Let's call this meeting of the Monroe County Redevelopment Commission to order. It is Wednesday, April 29th, 4:32 p.m., and we are here via Zoom. Should we do attendance? You want to rattle off the names?
We have Commissioners Kiesling, Shelton, Pfefferman, and Abbott, and Martin. So we have, is Dana on? Do we know if Dana Kurt is on?
He's not a voting member, but he is part of the meeting.
He is a member. So we have those 5 members with if Dana comes on, we'll note that for the record. But he is not on at this point. So we have the 5 voting redevelopment commission members present.
Correct.
Okay. And if you could help me with the agenda, because I didn't have a way to print it off. So I'm just going to look at the screen, but I think
the agenda is kind of what I would expect. I hope you guys all expect it to be today, which is just we have a lot of claims for the last few months that we haven't gotten to, and so we have the claims on it. And I think Lisa and I, hopefully mostly Lisa, can kind of just give a brief update on where we are with our projects, just to get people up to speed. I know that we've talked about some things in the past about affordable or residential TIFs and things like that. I can tell you, since this hit, we haven't really looked a whole lot into that for obvious reasons.
Well, and I mean, really on a broader level, I think we'll have to have a discussion at some point about future projections of tax revenues and redo some things. So maybe that's something we can talk about how to do when I assume the county will do it for everything, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Question: are we supposed to meet with the county commissioners at some point, or can we wait till September to do that?
I actually think, and maybe we should. I mean, let's get to the discussion of project section of our agenda.
Okay.
And talk about that, because there are a few things that I want to make sure you guys are aware of that's going on.
Please.
And I think they intersect with the commissioner meeting and those kind of things. So I guess I think the first thing on our agenda are the claims. Let me double check and make sure that.
Yes,
you're correct.
Yeah, the claims. You guys should have all received the claims that we want to look at today. And I'm usually better at this, but for some reason today I'm having trouble finding. And so I would like to just kind of read those off for the record.
that'd be good.
And we have some transfers as well. We have 11 claims. The first 3 are for Kreider and Kreider, and they are in the amounts of $176,812.48. The second is for $68,779.80, and the third is for $160,682.83. Lisa, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is all the Hart Strait Road project. The Hart Strait Connector.
Yes, you are correct. Yeah, I was just looking, let me pull the third one, but I don't think that we've received the bill yet for Profile Parkway starting quite yet, because they just began, it was the end of March.
Okay.
And we have 3 claims for Smith Rehab, one for $1,232, one for $3,080, and one for $1,848. And again, I think those are all for the Hart Strait Road Connector.
They are construction inspection services.
We have one for Financial Solutions Group of $13,200 for our annual report, which is something we need to talk about when we want to have the meeting where we invite all the other taxing units in for him to give the report to you as he does every year. We have 2 for WSP USA, one for $16,000 and one for $8,990. Lisa, can you Can you let us?
Smith Pike, Curry Pike intersection.
Guys, we have one for DLZ of 2,500. And I think that is for the Profile Parkway. And then we have one for with Circle Prosco for $107,737.77, and that's for right-of-way acquisition for the Profile Parkway extension. So those are our claims. We also have transfers of $450,700 from the engineering and construction line. 700 of that is going to the Profile Parkway extension line. 200,000 is going to the Vernal Pike Connector Road, and 250,000 is going to the Curry Woodgard Smith roundabout. So the total claims is $553,125.80, and the total transfers would be $450,700.
Okay. Do we have any questions about the claims and transfers?
Yes, I have a question.
Yes, Richard.
On the WSP billings that we get details for their subcontractors, but we don't get much detail like we do for the Kreider and other projects in terms of who did what when. We get a lump sum kind of thing. Are we going to get detailed information when they start showing up and actually doing on the ground work?
We can request additional information. They have had a employee switch over the last month, and we just actually probably the week before the quarantine, or not quarantine, the pandemic started, we met with them, went over some issue, just some progress on the project with the previous employee with WSP. So I can definitely ask for more detailed information. That is not a problem.
Yeah, I think we ought to, just to make sure we're consistent with the way we're treating all these
Absolutely.
contractors.
Yeah, and I wanted to explain that we transfer into the other lines from the engineering construction line, and that's so we can keep a better control on the cost of that overall project.
Right.
And
Okay.
Dana Kerr has arrived, so if you could unmute him so he can contribute, that would be great.
Okay.
Okay, and Jeff,
Yes.
I sent you an email with the other two affidavits for payment signature. Did you get that?
I think I just got it about 15, 20 minutes ago.
Yep, that's correct.
Thank you for doing that, Richard. Okay. Any other questions on the claims or transfers?
Well, I have a comment I want to make. If you remember, a year ago, I let you know that my son is an employee of Smith Brehab. So since it's been a year, I just want to tell everybody that he's a very junior surveyor, but he does work for Smith Brehab.
Thank you. Jeff, is that something that he should recuse from voting on, or just as long as it's in the?
If he lives in Jim's house and is part of his household, I think he should.
He does not.
Otherwise, I think
Don't have to.
it's important to note it for the record, but I don't think it rises to a conflict as it's defined by state code.
And that, so another question, but it'll be about how we're recording things and minutes, but I'm going to wait till then on that. But this is another one of those moments where I'm just curious how that all is being recorded. So we can get to that, but any other questions, comments on the claims?
No.
If not,
Approval.
okay,
Second.
a motion from Richard and a second from Jim. And if no further questions, you want to do the roll call?
Yes. Commissioner Pfefferman.
Aye.
Commissioner Martin.
Yes.
Commissioner Shelton.
Yes.
Commissioner Kiesling.
Yes.
Commissioner Abbott.
Yes.
Motion is approved 5-0.
Okay, Jeff, how do you want to do the signatory stuff on this?
That's a good question. I think the easiest way to do it is if anybody doesn't have the ability to sign and scan, I'll have to work with them on how we get that done. But if you guys all have the ability to sign and scan, if you just wanted to sign what was sent out in the packet, scan it in and email it to me, and we'll just keep them all as separate pages. And once we get together, we can have everybody sign it on one page. I think that's probably the easiest.
Yeah.
Are e-signatures acceptable if we have one created?
I think so, yes.
Yeah.
Hey, Jeff, this is Iris. Would you send me a copy of that claims sheet and I'll sign it and send it back to you? 'Cause I don't have any, I'm on iPhone, although I'm looking at my computer, but I don't have any audio or printers.
I will send it to you right now.
If you
In the
send it
mail.
You
Oh,
send
in
it
the
in a
mail?
Word document, Jeff. If you send that in a Word document, might be easier for people to sign it.
Okay.
But I can't unless I have another vehicle how to do it because my computer doesn't have that capability.
Okay. Well, Iris,
We'll
I will try to give you a call in the next
Okay.
day or so, and we'll figure that out.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yeah, an email out a Word document. I can electronically sign that.
Okay.
For the school board, what we've determined is that what's important is for the decision to be made in a public meeting. And since that's what's occurring here, the signatures could occur at a later date without being an issue, is the position we took.
Yeah, right.
Very good, thank you. Okay, what's next on our agenda?
I think the next thing on the agenda is kind of a project update, and I'll use the term project loosely because I have something that has come up and I've been asked about that really isn't a project yet, but it probably is something you guys need to think about as far as probably something we need to look at this summer. But I think I'll let Lisa go ahead and give an update on our current projects first, and then I'll talk about that.
Okay, so Daniels Way, Hart Strait, if you've been out by there, it looks close to done. It is close. We did get a letter from, if you recall, Kreider had to stop work over the winter due to a utility relocation. Duke delayed it by about 170 days. So Kreider asked for an extension due to the utility since they have no control over that. So that would put it until about the 1st of August to be complete. But however, they also stated if the weather is cooperative and everything, it's their goal to have it done and, more towards the beginning of July. We don't have a problem with granting that extension, especially with the pandemic and everything happening at the same time. So that's looking to be done in the middle of the summer. Profile Parkway, if you've been out there, Kreider did get the tree clearing done before the April 1st deadline. And they've already began digging and began that project. So Curry Pike, Smith Pike, that's for a letting right now and next February. So I think it's 6 parcels that they're acquiring getting the cost of those appraisals and things like that at this point to move forward into right-of-way acquisition for those projects. The Vernal Pike North connection, that's still on the same schedule that we've been on just because we have to follow NDOT's schedule for that. So we have began to prepare the right-of-way documents for that section or that north piece at this point. Fullerton Pike Phase 2, that's pretty well done. They only have to do some sod work and everything and for the completion of that project. We did a punch list walkthrough with Weddle Brothers and all parties involved in that for the final walkthrough for the Fullerton Pike Phase 1. To my knowledge, Weddle has come back and finished all of those items that needed to be addressed. It'll be them turning over the project to Monroe County. I will, I'll give you a little bit of a sticker shock on this. So with all the utility delays and that Weddle has There were utility delays, yes, on that project. However, we felt that there was a lot of other issues that we ran into in that project with the contractor also. Last fall, they submitted a $600,000 change order for that project, stating due to delays that they want paid for. Our consultant sat down with them the first week of January and went page by page of the 300-page document. There were some overlapping days and things like that that were being accounted for twice. NDOT has not approved that change order. I took the change order and just basically gave it to our legal department. I don't feel like Monroe County should be responsible for that at all. I know we do have to sometimes pay for some change orders, but the way that project went for a two-year delay, I will fight that till the end. I just don't think that anybody should hold Monroe County accountable for that. I don't believe in the end that we'll be responsible for that. I know NDOT does not agree with it. I do believe there was some delays. There might be a little bit of an additional cost, but I don't think it's going to be that to that magnitude. So, and then, you know, something like that, you can end up going through a mediation and things for. So that can be something that's going to be a year from now before it's even decided. But officially, that project's pretty well over, and we can move on from that one. Phase 3 is under design, just and moving along with that. But I think that's the major project on Sample Road. The right-of-way is all complete, of course, for phase 1. And I forget this isn't in the TIF district, but it's such a big project. I know everybody's interested in that project. We are down to actually 4 parcels on the west side of 32 parcels, I believe it was. So of acquiring, we've acquired all the rest of them. So we are moving forward with that, and the letting is in January for that project.
Nice. That's a lot of good work considering all of this disruption.
A lot of projects. We're trying to keep everything going. I mean, I know our contractors are still working, and it's up to them to practice the social distancing and everything. It's something we don't have to deal with. We just have to keep the bills paid and hopefully keep them working. So, you know, that helps the economy too, you know, to keep them out there working. With the cars off the road, I hate to say it, it does help.
Yeah.
It doesn't help budgets because they're not buying gas, but so it's a no-win really. It's good on one hand and not good on the other hand. So, but yeah, we're keeping the projects going, just business as usual. So.
Any questions for Lisa? Okay. Jeff, did you have some other updates?
Yeah, I got this all came up with the tax abatement request for Ernest Health. And then I've been in communications a little bit with Steve Kreider, and Steve, and maybe this is, make sure everybody understands. Steve Kreider is the principal for the North Park LLC, which holds
Right.
and basically he also holds the debt and the bond, and his group is responsible for debt coverages beyond what TIF revenue brings in. And so that debt is set to expire at the end of this year. I think our last payment's in February, and that's due to the making sure that the property tax gets settled before the debt's issued. So one of the things he brought up, and I think this is a ripe conversation that we should have when we have the meeting with the commissioners to see what their thoughts are, is he brought up, the issuing of another bond, because I think there's 10 years left in that TIF district after this year to do more projects. My review of my memory of my review of the North Park plan doesn't have a whole lot more projects in it.
Right.
However, I think if you look at the PUD that's covering that area, there are quite a few more projects that I think are part of what planning has envisioned at the end of the day that to look like. And so I think the RDC, I think Steve would like to talk to the RDC about issuing a new bond and look at what projects should be in it. It would probably cause us you know, depending on how that conversation goes, there would probably likely be a requirement that we have to amend the TIF plan, which is a couple month process. And then also, as we do that, also look at it potentially issuing more debt. Again, I think that conversation probably should be had. I don't know what the outcome will be, but really that TIF district is kind of at the end of the current debt cycle. And so it'd be a good idea to kind of look at what we want to do with that TIF district going forward. And I think the North Park LLC, Steve Kreider, would like to look at the potential of additional bond and what kind of projects would be included in that bond and what kind of coverage would there be. I would recommend, and I think we've been pretty lucky in the fact that when we did that initial, we didn't take on any additional requirements to pay debt beyond what that TIF district generated. And I think that saved us a lot of money and a lot of headache at the end of the day. So I think that conversation probably should happen. I think we started this with what are our revenues going to look like, and that I don't know the answer to that part of it. And I think that's all something that we should have to review and try to figure out the answers to as we look towards the future of that.
This sounds like somewhere where the BDC clerk, y'all may be helpful in helping us think through, like, where do those investments, pay off the most, and just helping that analysis of the situation.
You said the HRS form.
Yeah, I mean, Effort, I think we'd be willing to figure out how we could help and assist in that effort. So absolutely.
So Jeff, is that a discussion you want to set up for another meeting? Is that what we're thinking?
I think that's something, again, I think that's something we should probably discuss and think about. Hey, if we're going to issue some kind of debt in the future, look to do it, late this fall, early next spring, or through the winter. So I don't think we need to rush into it, and I don't think we need a answer in the next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. Mm-hmm. But I think it's probably going to be a fairly involved conversation, because I think we really need to get planning involved. We need to get, hey, what do we want out there? We need to have meetings with the landowner for most of it, which is, and honestly, the person who's probably responsible for most of the future development, because I think the planning documents indicate that when certain percentages of that TIF gets built out, then these building infrastructure requirements are triggered. And I think we should look at those and determine, what's the best way to encourage development. It's kind of I could see how the developer would be in a kind of a hard spot, because, once he hits those, then he's got expenses. So he's in some ways disincentivized to do, full development right away and to kind of figure all that out. I think there are a lot of moving pieces there that I think is probably going to take some time to work through and get everybody on the same page. One, what they are, and two, what's the best way to move forward with it.
Okay. Any thoughts on that from my colleagues?
Well, I'd be in favor of it. I think that area is got the potential to really be developed when 69 is totally done. And I think we would want to put the infrastructure in there that'll help it be a quality development and not just servicing trucks and stuff. So I think if we can help with that, we ought to do it, assuming we can structure all the other things that Jeff just pointed out and get them lined up.
So Jeff, as the newbie on the commission, can you send me the TIF plan and some, documentation to catch up, because I wasn't here when any of this happened. So, I mean, when does this TIF expire, that kind of stuff. So if you wouldn't mind, that would be really great.
Yeah, and I apologize. I meant to do that already, but whenever it's all in my office, and whenever I get to my office, there's people coming in and talking to me with, and even these times.
Yeah, I understand, because you probably just noticed. So.
No, I'll get that to you. I'm actually, my internet connection is unstable, so I'm going to go from video to non-video to make sure I don't fall off the map completely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
And I'd also like a copy of that as well, because I've never really paid any attention to that particular TIF district all that much. So
Okay.
that'd be nice to.
I will send it to everyone, the
Okay.
entire RDC.
Okay.
Great.
Okay. Are we to staff? Are we done with staff updates?
That's all I had.
I regret that I didn't ask if anyone from the public had any items for us that weren't on the agenda, or any comments, I should say. We have a few members of the public, as well as Council Member Jeff McKim.
Thank you, Efrat, and commissioners. Actually, this is sort of a question for Lisa that is, I think, relevant to the Redevelopment Commission here, and that's, to what degree do any of the projects that the Redevelopment Commission is working on depend on Major Bridge as a local match?
Fullerton Pike Phase 3 have used some of the funds for actually Phase 2 also. But Phase 3, and I think that's not looking at, we also have Mount Tabor. It's not a TIF project, but we also have Mount Tabor Bridge project out of that too. So
Is that one?
I was trying to think of the length of the new bridge on the Vernal Pike connector, but I don't have that in my mind at this point. But I know for sure we've used it for some of the Fullerton Pike Phase 2, because that met the 200-foot requirement, and the Fullerton Pike Phase 3 and Mount Tabor. That's the 3 current projects we have for, and the Fullerton Pike Phase 3, that's, looking at it, probably a $10 to $11 million project, which is huge. A lot of that's due to the size of the bridge. 2.7 million of that will come from the MPO funds that have been set aside for future. I think it's 2023, 2024 is when we're allocated that year of money for the Fullerton Pike project. The remainder of it, we were probably going to pretty much rely on the Major Bridge Fund. I checked with NDOT, and I was concerned about how much of approach how far out I could take that project. Could I take it from Fullerton Pike all the way, or Rockport Road, all the way to the end of Fullerton Pike Phase 2 as a major bridge? I was told by Mike Kells that they don't care how long my approach is.
Could make the whole road just one.
I'm building the road to get to that new bridge. And kind of rest easy with me, because the Fullerton Pike TIF monies went so far down. So that was a big concern and then we have local road and street, but we have Sample Road and Hunters Creek pretty much going at the same time for those, and they utilize those funds. So having the Major Bridge Fund to where I can pretty much use it for the Fullerton Pike Phase 3 helps a lot. The Mount Tabor Bridge, I believe, is just around 2 million. I believe is the most recent estimate of that one. And then, like I said, we use some out of Phase 2, but not abundance of that. So, and I think this is the second year maybe of that fund. I believe this is the second year or third. No, time flies. Yeah. And I think it brings in 2.3 million per year, if I'm thinking correct. So
yeah, the reason why I bring it up is just that's, as a rate controlled fund, that's, if we see a significant drop in property values due to the pandemic, then that's, that's going to reduce the revenue going into Major Bridge, along with Cume Bridge and Cume Cap. So that's just one of those things everybody has to keep a close eye on. If the assessor is already starting to get the appeals for assessed value from businesses. I mean, literally the formal evidence just went out and already getting the appeals. So that's just something to keep our eyes on.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, anyway, we appreciate your updates on those matters in terms of the big fiscal picture. I don't know if is the council engaged in doing some forecasting right now, or is it really just too early with all the moving pieces, the assessments and appeals and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, I would call it more modeling than forecasting, but I mean, we're definitely modeling what various levels of cut in income tax and potentially property tax would look like. Yeah. And I know Lisa has been heavily engaged in the potential losses to MVH and local road and streets from the reduction in gas taxes as well.
Wow. Yeah, a lot of factors.
Thank you, though.
Thank you. Thank you. Anything else? Any other members of the public that want to chime in? Clark, anything from you?
Nothing on my end.
Congrats on a good meeting today via Zoom.
Yeah.
Anything else?
I am emailing you a link, each of the redevelopment commission members, a link to the Indiana Gateway, which has the TIF documents for all our TIFs had to be downloaded into it. So you guys should get that. If you need anything additional, let me know. And or if you need it parceled out in a different way, let me know. But all the foundation documents should be accessible by that link.
Thank you.
Else, commissioner comments?
Just want to thank Mr. Evans for keeping this meeting under control and safe.
Yeah. Yep. And thank you to all of the county employees who are out there working hard to just do the job on behalf of this whole community that we need you to do. Pivoting and adapting, and our elected officials and everyone's just been amazing to really observe in action. So thanks to all of you out there. Okay, if nothing further, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
we're adjourned at 5:05 p.m. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Eric.
Take care.
thanks.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.